guys, so I am aware it has been a long time since I have uploaded on this channel. Side note, for a while I didn't have a job. For a while there's been a pandemic. A lot has happened since the last time I uploaded to this channel. A lot has happened. I've been in and out of work, got a job as a temp. I've been going back to rehearsals for shows, which brings me to today's theme. Even though it is not technically filming this, it is not technically October until the end of the week, but I can upload this whenever I want, so maybe it is October. Anyway, I am uploading this video because I really want to promote a show that I'm doing, and I want to do it by doing something fun and on theme for Halloween and whatnot, because it is a spooky show. It's very creepy and kooky, and if you know what I'm talking about, then I love you. It is Addams Family, the musical. Although we're advertising it as a concert, which is really confusing, it is not a concert. I promise you, if you are planning on seeing the show, it is not a concert. It just says it's a concert because that's the script that we got to use, because it's got things about the quarantine in it, so, you know. So today, for your entertainment, I am going to be doing the spooky Halloween tag questions from the blog. I think it was called Anne with a Book, or just madamwriterblog.com. There was a 50 question one, but I was like, I'm not doing 50 questions. That is insane. So let's get started. Favourite horror or Halloween themed song? Oh, I have an entire Halloween playlist, like on Spotify, like an entire playlist dedicated to the month of Halloween because I love it so much. I'm going to see if any hints. There's no hints. Okay. So it's gonna sound cheesy, but I really like China Anne McClain's Calling All the Monsters, and I know that there's going to be a little revival because it's like 10 years since she brought it out or something, but I don't know why, it's just a real bop kind of one. And I think my favourite movie one is probably I'm in Love with the Monster from Hotel Transylvania 2. I don't know why, I just really like the Fifth Harmony song. Okay, next question. Name something you wouldn't want to run into a dark forest or in an abandoned building. Oh, something you wouldn't want to run into in a dark... Okay, I can't read, so... Name something you wouldn't want to run into in a dark forest or in an abandoned building. Wow. Okay, that's quite a loaded question. I'd probably say... something that could eat me. I wouldn't want to run into something that could eat me, so maybe like a wild animal that would just immediately want to eat me because it's been there for a while and it's hungry. So maybe a tiger. I know it sounds boring, and I could say like a big monster thingy, but this is YouTube, so I'm gonna say a tiger. I wouldn't want to run into a tiger in an abandoned building or a dark forest, even though you probably wouldn't find them in a forest. Have you ever played with a Ouija board? Not personally, no, but there was one time, it wasn't an official Ouija board or whatever, when we did NCS, which is it stands for National Statistics Service. It's very random why. I don't remember why we did it. I think they just thought because they're in a church it would be haunted. Side note, that building that they were in was not that old and is definitely not haunted, because it's like the building they were in was only about a year old when they'd been in it. But they decided to make a makeshift Ouija board using a piece of paper. I had no part of it because I don't mess around with the occult and things. I don't want to know what's died where, so personally, no, I have never played with a Ouija board. They didn't find anything. The closest I've ever got to playing like a weird game is probably when there was that trend in like 2014-15 when there was the Charlie thing. I played that in the dark and it freaked me out, so yeah. Favourite horror monster or villain? Ooh, and it can be like classic? Yeah, it can be classic. I haven't watched many horror movies. I've watched a couple of 90s slasher types. But because I read the book and I'm a total nerd, I'm going to say Frankenstein. Specifically Frankenstein from the book, because all of the movies are a little bit wrong. All of the movies are slightly wrong about who Frankenstein... I'm sorry, I didn't mean Frankenstein, I meant Frankenstein's monster, because the monster isn't called Frankenstein, it's the name of the doctor. I am so sorry. This is a channel that's literally called Grace Reads and I just messed that up. But yeah, Frankenstein's monster, because the book kind of explains the problem with being branded as a monster and that kind of thing. If you've never read the book, I highly recommend it. It's a very good gothic type. If you're not into like really gory Stephen King type horror and you'd much prefer like the traditional where it's more about creating an atmosphere, I would definitely read that. Like the entirety of chapter 5 is like something ripped out of a spooky like thriller type thing. It's very good. But yeah, Frankenstein's monster, because there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of flaws, and yeah. Okay, let's see what's next. The creepiest thing that's ever happened while you were alone. Oh, a lot of weird things have happened to me while I'm alone. A lot of them in my dreams. I'm not going to go into that, but you know. I think there was one time I was home alone. I can't remember exactly what I was watching. I was watching something downstairs in like the dark, and I heard there's something about the kitchen that the kitchen decides to make the creepiest noises when you're not there, like something on the oven, or maybe the tap starts dripping, but that's probably just because you've got bad plumbing. But it always happens right at late night. Like, I remember in my old house, we didn't used to have 2 bathrooms. In my old house, we just had 1 bathroom, and you had to go all the way downstairs to go to it. And the creepiest thing that you could have happen in that house was if you were walking downstairs and the fridge decided to turn itself, well, not on, but like start making a noise. We described it as a TARDIS fridge because it sounded a lot like the TARDIS, because it was that noisy. And if that happened to you while you were padding along the really cold stone floor to get to the bathroom, it did freak you out just a little bit. Okay, number 6. If you were dared to spend the night in a haunted house, would you do it? See, I don't know, because I don't think I'd ever end up in that situation, because I'm not stupid enough to do that, because I've seen enough stories and know about enough horror movies to be like, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. But I mean, if it was one of those ones where it's like you can win some amount of money, I still think I wouldn't do it. I don't know, I just think it's a stupid idea, personally. I'm very boring, I'm afraid. I'm very boring with that. But yeah, no, I wouldn't. Even if it was like to win like a big holiday or something, my family would be mad at me, but I'd be like, no, I don't want to end up in a haunted house and end up haunted for the rest of my life. No. Okay. Are you superstitious? As someone in theatre, you kind of go along with a couple of superstitions, but like the normal superstitions, honestly, I just wouldn't walk under a ladder anyway. Like, I know people say, oh, that's superstitious, but no, I just don't want to get a concussion from a paint can landing on my head or someone falling on me. That's just like general hazard awareness. I don't believe that a black cat crossing your path is bad luck, because it's a cat. Cats don't like me. They'll just run away. They do that all the time. I go and stroke a cat and they just... The mirror one, I've never broken a mirror, so I wouldn't know if you get 7 years bad luck from it, but I doubt it. But in the theatre, I cannot stand certain superstitions because they've been around for such a long time. It is so annoying. I understand the Macbeth one, okay? I understand the Macbeth suspicion. It's an old thing, it's an old tradition, there's a lot of stories behind it. I don't like the whistling one. I don't like the whistling one because I was forced to do the stupid thing you have to do to undo it when I was doing Godspell before the panorama started. And it was very stupid because there aren't people working in riggings and things like that anymore because it's a modern theatre. So no, I don't like superstitions very much. Although I do still do the break a leg thing instead of saying good luck before going on a show. Not everyone does, but I do. Do you ever see figures in your peripheral vision? No. I'm just going to straight up say that. No, I have never seen figures in my peripheral vision that are not explainable by just turning and going, oh, that's my dad, or something like that. No, that's not, no. I do sometimes see wiggly things in my vision, but that's just because sometimes I stare at lights a bit too long, but no, never seen figures. Which urban legend scares you the most? Okay. Yeah, so this one's very much just for this country, also for a specific part of this country. So if you've ever been to Cornwall, you know that there's a place called Bodmin Moor, and there's a lot of stories about that place, mostly about smugglers and things, about the moors and things, especially with the Jamaica Inn, which is also a very good book that I've reviewed on this channel if you want to go and check that out. But I'd probably say The Beast of Bodmin Moor, because when I was on holiday there and we were driving across the moors, it was really late at night. Pirate FM came on, which is like the local radio for if you live in that area, and people were talking about sightings of a beast on Bodmin Moor. Now, the original story is basically that an animal because a lot of people used to keep exotic pets in like Victorian times and things, that a beast escaped from someone's lavish house and just wanders the moor, just eating dead animals and things, or eating deer and things like that. And that creeped me out because even though I was like, oh, it's just an urban legend and things, they started talking about sightings of a creature. I don't know if it was just some big gag or something. I mean, it wasn't like it was near April Fool's Day, so it wasn't an April Fool's, but I don't know, I didn't like it. It really creeped me out. It really creeped me out when it happened. Do you prefer gore or thrillers? Thrillers, definitely, absolutely. I would much rather have something that makes my skin crawl in a different way than watch certain gore. Some gore I have noticed I'm a little desensitized to, just because of how bad things can get in normal movies, ones that aren't specifically horror rated and things. Some gore I have found that I'm okay with, but there are some kinds of gore that I just can't stand because of how graphic it can get. And also, reading about that stuff in books isn't fun either. So thriller, definitely. I much prefer something that makes me a little bit on edge rather than just disgusted. Disgust wears off. A little bit of a spook, like in The Shining. Like, I watched The Shining. I kind of liked the atmosphere that Kubrick built with that. So that was quite good. Do you believe in multiple dimensions or worlds? Is this a shifting question? Because I still don't understand what shifting is. I've heard people talk about it. I've seen videos where people talk about it and things, but honestly, don't cancel me for this, but I think it's just an enhanced version of daydreaming, which we all did when we were kids. Like, in the playground, you'd pretend to be a flying Pegasus or a fairy, or you'd reenact the entirety of Bratz Pixies with your friends, like I did. Or just write stories in notebooks and things and make up characters in your head, or pretend to be in Doctor Who, or pretend to be in Scooby-Doo and all those things. We had a lot to work with when we were kids, but no, I don't believe there are multiple dimensions. I do like reading about them in other books though, because that's quite fun. If there were other dimensions, I just know for a fact I'd end up in one of the messed up ones, like the one that has Panem and the Hunger Games, so no. Ever made a potion of any sort? Ooh, this one is quite interesting. I don't think it counts as a potion really, but when I was very, very little, I went on a school trip to a famous forest. It was Sherwood Forest, but they call it Sherwood Pines for some reason, which is really weird. But you know, I went to Sherwood Pines on a school trip. I was really little. I don't know why I still remember this, but I do. We made this weird potion thing. I think it was basically just mud and leaves and things, but we got given like a cup and we were able to pick up things from like the ground. So like pieces of pine cone or conkers and things. It was disgusting. I'm very glad they didn't like they told us we couldn't drink it, because if one of the kids had drank it, that would have been disgusting. Because a few years earlier, I drank paint by accident and that was not fun. I still remember that, by the way. But we basically just put sticks and rocks and things into them, and they were like, oh look, it's a forest potion. Ooh. So that's the closest I've ever got to making a potion. Do you get scared easily? Yes, I can get I've been jump scared by those trends throughout the years. I don't like being jump scared. I don't like when someone shocks me from behind. I am quite a screamer if someone shocks me. If something is genuinely terrifying or something, or just absolutely horrifying to look at, I will get scared. So yeah, basically yeah, I'm better than I was, but I do get scared easily. Jump scares and things are just... Have you ever played Bloody Mary? No. Once again, I don't hold with summoning the dead and things like that. I'm fine to read about other people doing it and being stupid and ridiculous and playing it in a bathroom and things. I don't hold with that stuff, just like with Ouija boards. No, absolutely not. Do you believe in demons / the devil? Kind of, but not for the reasons that you'd think. I was raised in a Christian household. I myself am baptized and do believe that there is a God and things. I know crazy Gen Z person believes that there's a God up there and things, but there is, I believe, which also means that there's a devil and there are demons. Personally, I haven't ever, obviously haven't met one, but I do believe that there are out there somewhere, like not angels and things. I've never met an angel, I've never met a demon, but I do believe they're out there. You're home alone, but you hear footsteps in your house. What do you do? I have kind of had this situation. So in my old house, me and my brother were at home alone. I think we were like playing Minecraft or something, because that's all we did for a few years. For a few years, we just played Minecraft. And obviously I didn't play in survival mode because I hate survival mode, but... And we heard noises upstairs. And as far as we knew, there was no one else in the house. To our knowledge, it was probably like a Saturday or something, and Dad had gone for a run and Mum was at work, I think. It was something like that. We were like 15 or something. I was 15, he was about 13. And we heard a noise upstairs. And me and Kayla were like, do you think... What do you think's up there? What do you think there is? And I very stupidly, I went to go and get a weapon. It was a bread knife. You know, the long ones that have like two pointy bits at the end and then they're jagged down the end. I grabbed that one because to me that looked like the scariest knife, because when I'd done the dishes I'd hurt myself on it a few times. And so we snuck upstairs. I think he grabbed like he'd probably grabbed the good knife that like actually looks like you could do some damage with it. And we crept up the very creaky stairs and we pushed the door open to my parents' room, and we just saw my dad, and he was like, and I was like, why didn't you tell us that you'd come home? And he said, why were you about to assault me with a bread knife? There are so many better knives. And I was like, that's not the point. You scared the poop out of us. So that's what I did. stupidly. If that had happened to me, I probably would have, these days I would probably grab a better weapon to assail or something, or I'd grab a torch if it was dark or something. So yeah. If you got trapped in one scary movie, which would you choose? Would I choose? I don't know. Probably one of those ones where you get done for having too much, yeah. One of those ones where the monster doesn't like when teenagers go to bed together. Because I wouldn't be stupid enough to do that if there was a killer on the loose. Probably one of the ones where people are so stupid that you literally see them die and you're like, yeah, they kind of deserved it. I wouldn't want to be in Nightmare on Elm Street because I have a very vivid imagination. So I'm guessing probably either like Scream or something, because I'm not one of those people that would have a reason for someone to want to kill me unless they just thought that I was really annoying, which would probably happen knowing me. Or like Friday the 13th or something, because I don't go to summer camps and I'm not stupid enough to be at home with just a boyfriend who's an idiot and would totally get me killed. So one of those ones, I don't know. If you could wear one Halloween costume for the rest of your life, what would you be? I really like dressing up. Oh my gosh, it would have to be one that I'd have to be able to do things in. So I'd probably say my Robin costume. You've seen me dress up as Robin on here, so you know what I'm talking about, my Robin costume, because it's not only quite practical, because you can wear trainers with it, but also if I got a bit cold, I could put leggings under it or a long sleeve top and you'd still be able to tell who I was. So Robin costume, absolutely. Would you ever go to a graveyard at night? I think I have technically gone to a graveyard at night, like when we have bonfire nights, the park that we go to, you can stand in the graveyard and you can see things. I don't think graveyards are that creepy, unless it was like a super old one and they were having like a ghost hunting night or something. I would probably be a little bit freaked out. But yeah, I've walked through a graveyard at night, not intentionally, just used it as a shortcut or something. I don't think graveyards are that creepy. They're just full of dead people, so. And dead people can't come back from the dead. Unless, of course, you're in Shaun of the Dead or something. I don't freaking know. In a zombie apocalypse, what is your weapon of choice? Well, they always say to aim for the head, don't they? Like, they always say that the head is the best way to kill them. If I could get hold of one, I would probably want, like, a gun. But this is England, so that's not something that's very easy to get hold of. So probably, like, if I could, like a giant kitchen knife or like a machete or something, so that I could, like, slice and dice, I suppose. I'm not very good with, like, sports and things, so I don't think I'd probably die very soon in a zombie apocalypse, but you know. Would you rather go to a Halloween party or go trick-or-treating? I have never been trick-or-treating in my life, and that is no word of a lie. So, probably trick-or-treating. My parents just didn't like the idea of going and begging strangers for sweets, because your whole life you get told as a kid, don't talk to strangers, don't take sweets from strangers and things, don't follow strangers, don't talk to them and things. That whole mantra that you get about stranger danger and things. And then for one night a year, you can go and beg for sweets from strangers. My parents just didn't like that idea. They were like, if you want sweets, you ask me. So. But yeah, I think I'd pick trick-or-treating just to know what it's like. Because I've always been the person to give out sweets, because kids always come knocking. It doesn't matter how many doors you lock and how many lights you turn off, they will always come knocking. So yeah, I'd probably pick trick-or-treating, because I've been to a few Halloween parties and things, and they are fun, but I think, yeah, just trick-or-treating. And also the chance to be a kid again would be awesome. You're in a horror movie. Are you the final girl, the first to die, the comic relief, the skeptic, the smart one, or the killer? I don't think I'd be a final girl. I'm not smart enough for that. I don't think I'd be the final girl. I'd probably be the comic relief. I'd be the funny one that probably dies and everyone's just like, oh man, that person was so funny when they died. That sounds really stupid, but I do well with a comedy script. I'd probably be the comic relief. Yeah, because I'm not hot enough to be the final girl, and I am not stupid enough to be the person that dies instantly. I'd be the comic relief. I'd probably die like the midsection, or like in the sequel maybe, if there was more than one person that stayed alive. I wouldn't be the smart one because I'd have no idea what was going on, but I'd probably be the comic relief, yeah. Do you have to watch something happy after watching a horror movie so you can go to sleep? Well, generally, I don't watch horror movies. But if I've watched something creepy or something like that, or read a book that's particularly creepy, sometimes it helps. Sometimes it just gets pushed to the front of my mind and everything else just kind of blurs into one, I've found. But I have gone to sleep after watching I Know What You Did Last Summer and been fine. And after watching Scream. Honestly, I just found Scream more funny than scary, to be honest, because it was one of those 90s ones, so it was quite funny to watch and things. So I think I'd be fine. If it was like super scary or something, I probably would need something fluffy to like soften everything, like Mary Poppins or something. Whilst watching scary movies, are you the person who yells at the characters, the person with their eyes covered the whole time, or the person who falls asleep? The person who falls asleep is my mum, definitely. She falls asleep during movies. After a certain time of night, she would just fall asleep during movies. Sometimes I'm the one who's covering my eyes. Other times I'm the one yelling at the characters because they make really stupid decisions. I'm a mix of both. We'll say that. I'm a mix of both. Okay. Are you the one who gets scared or the one who does the scaring? I'm definitely the one who gets scared. I have never pulled a prank on someone to scare someone and things. I have always wanted to be the one to do the scaring. Like if I had a really spooky costume or something. So like a weekend ago, I dressed up for the carnival and I looked really spooky doing that because I was dressed as a ghost. And I was quite pleased that I managed to freak out a few kids and things. I didn't scare everyone. Mostly they just didn't recognise me because I was wearing a wig and makeup and things. But I'm definitely the one who gets scared. Favourite scary book? I haven't read many scary books, unless you count like Frankenstein, but that's more... Everyone says that's a horror. It's not a horror, it's a sci-fi, definitely. A book that did kind of freak me out was... Oh gosh, it was something like... It was one of those short story kind of things where it wasn't a huge book. It was something like Stage Fright, and it was theatre themed, and it was about a killer going around killing people in a show in theatrical fashion. So someone gets squashed by a flat and their skull kind of like that. Someone gets stabbed with a pair of golden shears that you use for like cutting fabric and things. Someone almost gets poisoned with turpentine. I'm trying to think if there's another one. Oh, someone sets a dressing room on fire. I think it's called Stage Fright. But it was very good, and I had no idea who the killer was. And when the killer was revealed, I was like, what? Like, you know when you think you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know who the killer is. You don't. And I found out, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay. In fact, is the book on my shelf? You know what? I'm not gonna look because that's gonna waste too much time. How old were you when you saw your first horror movie? I don't like to talk about this one a lot because it genuinely traumatized me, and it probably would still traumatize me because I am a very sensitive person. But I will say it is the same name as... It's in a song You know what, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. It's not going to make me think of it because I'm a big girl now. The Sandman. That was the name of the film. It wasn't a very long film. It was, I think it was stop motion, so it was like the kind of stuff that you see in Nightmare Before Christmas and things. And I was 12 when I saw that, and everyone else was absolutely fine. Like, they were just a bit like, ugh, when the weird thing happened. I was shaking, genuinely. They showed it to us in school because our theme was horror. They were teaching us about horror in year 7. That was a mistake because I was traumatized for a whole weekend. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. I kept picking up books because I was like, I am determined not to sleep. Because if I sleep, if I close my eyes, I'm going to see that horrible image. Yeah, I got traumatized big time. You know how I said that there are certain gores that I won't handle? I was just like, no. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it out for yourself and tell me that I'm a complete wuss for hating it. But it traumatized me. So there you go. What was your first Halloween costume? It was a bit of a rubbish Halloween costume because I'd never been to a Halloween party before. But my first Halloween costume was a cheap Little Mermaid costume. It wasn't a wig or anything, just a big long dress that had a mermaid bit on the bottom. Like, you could stick your feet through it, so it was just a dress basically. And it had like the little feathery bits, and then it had little straps up here, and I wore it, I think it was at a Brownies Halloween party or something. You know, the ones where they have those games and things, like where you get a big flower and you put it in a bowl and then you put sweets on top of it and you have to keep cutting it, and if it lands in the flower you have to eat it and things, those kinds of parties. But that was my first Halloween costume, but I don't think it counts because it wasn't creepy, because in this country we're still about the scary Halloween. So technically it was a cat costume, where it was just a pair of black cat ears, a black t-shirt, black leggings. I took a pair of tights and stuffed one of the legs with black socks and stuck it in the back of my trousers to make a tail that didn't wag, but whatever. Black fingerless gloves, and then like whiskers on my cheeks and things. Very basic, but I thought it was cute. What are you going to be for Halloween this year? I have a few different options. But I think I'm probably going to do my Robin costume again for doing things outside, because it's just such a practical costume, apart from the wig. But I'm also considering a costume that I have been building. It's not a great one, but you can at least tell who it is from the costume, from a couple of the bits that I've bought for it and things. Honestly, I don't know. I'm either going to do one of my closet style ones, or I'm going to use one of the costumes for my shows that I did, because I do enjoy that costume. If you're on my TikTok, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's probably going to be Robin, because I have got a wig now and better socks and a better hat for it, so probably Robin. If you could have a spooky Halloween pet, what would you have? Cat. Just a cat. I like cats. I can't have cats in this house because my mum's allergic to pet fur, and specifically cat fur. But cat. I would have a cat, definitely. If I was in like Harry Potter or something, I would love a cat. And oh, that's the last question. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching. I am going to put a link in the description to where you can buy tickets for the Addams Family. You can check us out on Facebook, on Erewash Musical Society, to go and get tickets for that. You can check out our Instagram, which is the same address. And you can check out my TikTok, Grace Abby Deakin, to go and see content that I'm doing about that kind of thing, just to promote the show basically. So there's my ghost character, which is who I'm playing in the show. Not the same costume. There will be content in my costume though, I guarantee it. The second I get in that theatre, I'm going to be doing things like shake hands in character and stuff. And also my character that I created myself, Mulberry Addams, is going to be on my TikTok as well, promoting the show in Addams Family fashion. But yeah, come and see the show. It's £10 a ticket, so what are you even doing? What are you even doing? It's £10 a ticket. It's cheaper than the professional theatre. It's going to be on the first week of October, if I can get the dates right. I'm gonna have to check this because I'm gonna get it wrong. Yeah, so it's from the 5th to the 9th of October. There are quarantined performances and there are regular ones. So basically ones where when you sit in the audience, there'll be spaced out seating, and ones where it's just going to be normal, as if the panorama never happened. We're all going to be super safe and things because there have been problems with that theatre and things. So yeah, it's at the Duchess Theatre, also known as the also known as the Chatsworth Centre. It's going to be great. It says it's a concert. It's not a concert. I promise you, it's not a concert. And yeah, so just come and see the show, and it's just a great way to start the month of Halloween, isn't it? To just go and watch a spooky show. It's like watching it's like watching a spooky movie like Beetlejuice or something, or Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus. I can't wait to watch Halloweeny films again. Anyway, I will see you later, and hopefully I'll have a little bit of Addams Family content for you coming as well. Bye guys!